You may have noticed over the past few weeks we've been focusing on driver education and driver safety here on the Road Testament. I'm joined today by an instructor on the track, Mike Musto.
Mm-hmm.
You're with NASA?
Yeah, NASA, which is the National Autosport Association.
Cool. So, yeah, you actually did one lap this year as well.
Yeah, ran one lap, got back about 2 weeks ago. And it's
cool. In a GT3 RS.
In a Porsche GT3 RS.
You bastard.
Yeah, it was pretty good. it was pretty good. And that's 8 racetracks, 9 racetracks in 8 days and 3,500 miles.
You see, we spend a lot of time at the track, mostly me for shooting, but you driving.
Yeah.
And we see quite a few people at the track every weekend, especially when it gets warmer out there.
Absolutely.
But that's only a small percentage of the number of people who are out on the road driving exotics or performance cars.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very scarily small percentage.
Yeah.
You have maybe 3 to 5% of the people that actually own these super exotics actually take them to the track. These are not street cars.
It's a lot of power at the
A lot of power. These are cars that you need to be trained to drive.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today on the Road Testament. Mike, I'm going to start off with a story. A few weeks ago, I was actually on a shoot with a Nissan GTR.
Okay.
It was not a press car, that's very rare for us.
Yes, sure.
It was actually a customer car because the GTRs were not in the fleet at the time.
Okay.
And the owner of the car, it was the first time he had ever been to a racetrack, let alone, he never had been on a racetrack. It was the first time he had been at a racetrack.
And he bought a GTR.
And he bought a GTR.
Okay.
And the sad thing is we put an instructor in his car, and we did a few laps to get the instructor acclimated with the car.
Right.
And the owner freaked out.
Okay.
I've never heard my tires make those noises.
Yeah.
That's the first quote. That's the first time I've smelt my brakes.
Yeah.
This is a $90,000 performance car.
Well, you get a lot of owners like that. You know, we have a lot of owners that come to the track.
Yeah.
And it's, first off, just to have them at the track, they're starting off on the right foot.
Of course.
Okay?
Of course.
But they have no concept of what today's cars, not even supercars, are really capable of. So, you know, for an owner to come up and say, oh my God, I can smell my tires and I can smell my brakes and I can smell, well, yeah, and we only did 2 laps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you have to, it's an education process.
Yeah.
And you have to start out slow with people and little by little make them understand what the capabilities of their automobiles are.
How often do you get a student in the car for the first time who just says, I can't do this anymore?
Oh, lots of times.
Really?
Yeah, you'd be amazed. I've had guys with, 911 turbos. I've had guys with Ferraris. I've had guys with Corvettes.
Yeah.
And generally what will happen is we'll go out and say, like with NASA, we have different run groups. So say HPD 1, okay? Yeah. It's a beginner group. We'll take them out. And when you're driving in those groups, it's, it's a single file. You can pass on straightaways. But it's basically just to get you acclimated with using the power in your car. It's getting you acclimated with how your car brakes under hard braking conditions and what your car feels like under a G-load. And that's a big thing. Now, I've had students that say after, say 3 to 4 sessions, okay, where they are progressing and they're getting better, they'll look at me and they'll say, Mike, can you take me out in my car? And I'll say, okay, but what do you want me to do? Show me what the car can do. Okay.
Yeah.
I've had students throw up. I've had students bang on the dashboard to tap out. And I've had students look at me and say, I don't want to come back here. And to me, I just did those guys a major disservice. And so I try not to do that, because if you're not used to getting thrown around in a car under high G-forces or coming down from, say, 150 miles an hour under hard braking to the point that the levels of adhesions of the tires are just, you're hearing them chirp.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a frightening thing. That's a very frightening thing. Even if you're driving with somebody who knows how to drive. And it's one of those, it's like skydiving. Some people jump out of a plane and go, this is the greatest thing ever, I want to do it again. Some people do it once, they get to the bottom and like, I'm done. And track driving is kind of like that.
This discussion just doesn't come out of thin air. You look at the Scandinavians. You get into a driver education class where they put you in a spin so that you experience what a spin is like, especially on the frozen roads up north in Northern Europe. Driver education is not only just to go fast, but to also understand the limits of any vehicle you have. Because to be quite honest with you, if you get behind the wheel of a 911 or a Ferrari or any sports car, an MR2, and it's a beautiful day, you're going to have some fun.
Sure.
And it's important you need to know those limits of the car in a safe environment.
Right. Well, here in the United States, driver education is a joke. It's a joke. So,
absolutely.
I know when I was a kid and I was 16 and I went through driver education, it was, okay, go down there, do a figure eight, parallel park there. and I was like, really? And what happened? 2 weeks later, I totaled my car.
Really?
Yeah, totaled my car. Wiped it out, okay? Yeah. And why? Because I'm a 16-year-old kid. I happen to have a Mustang at the time, which was a bad move.
That was your first mistake.
That was my first mistake. And, I came over a little crest, the car got sideways on me, I lost it, and all of a sudden I was playing ping ball, between a couple of trees. And it was then that I said, I have no idea what the hell that I'm doing.
And then that implanted the seed in your head to start learning
more.
More.
There's no question about it. That basically showed me, okay, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And you really need to be educated on how to properly drive an automobile.
It's funny when I get behind the wheel of or rather, I'm in the passenger seat with, say, Patrick Long in a 911, and then you're driving with just anyone, like a journalist. We'll talk about that discussion next.
Sure.
And it's just insane to see the difference in capabilities just by the inputs that are getting fed into the steering wheel and the throttle.
There's no question. I mean, professionals are professionals for a reason. Okay, professionals from the time they get behind the wheel, their job is to push those cars as hard as they can. Their job is to get every ounce of speed, every ounce of adhesion, every ounce of braking out of that car for one purpose. They're supposed to win the race. Okay?
Yeah.
As a driving instructor, that's not my job. Okay? My job is to say, I need to get you around this track safely, and more importantly, I need you to get me around this track safely. Because not only do I want him to enjoy the day, but I want to die.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys like Patrick Long, I mean, they're professionals. That's what they do.
They've been doing it since they were kids.
They've been doing it when they were kids.
Yeah.
I'm a driving instructor. I'm not a professional race car driver. I'm somebody that can tell you how to drive a car properly. I'm somebody that if I get on the racetrack, I can play around and have a little fun.
Yeah.
But as an instructor, one of my biggest things is you have to be willing to learn. And it's a process. It's a process for me. It's a process for every amateur out there. And it's just,
How much does it actually cost for a track day?
Well, in something like NASA, you have, say, a membership of, say, $45 for the year, which isn't bad.
That's nothing.
Which is nothing.
That's gas for most people now.
Exactly. A standard track day will run anywhere from, say, $280 to $350.
That's not including brakes, if you have to go through brakes or tires.
Not at all. Yeah. But if this is your first time at the track, okay, you're not going to go through brakes. You're not going to go through tires. Don't think that, as soon as you get to the track, you have to start playing with, tire pressures. And, that's a big one. Everybody loves tire pressures. They have no idea what they do, but they love to change them. The only thing that you're there to do is get acclimated with driving a car around a surface that has no speed limit.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. One of the problems I see, though, as journalists, as you are also an automotive journalist, we get to go on these track events. The 1M is a perfect example.
Yeah.
A lot of journalists out there don't know how to do this either.
No, and I've been on the track with some journalists where I was on the track with a journalist who told me he didn't know how to drive a stick. I go, what are you talking about? And he said, well, I've never driven a stick before. I said, what the hell are you doing here?
Holy crap.
And it's one of those things where, and I'm not slighting anybody.
And that's not automobile. That's someone probably from Home and Garden.
But I mean, the thing is, if you're going to cover cars, know about cars. I'm not saying you have to know everything about them, but no, for God's sake, know how to drive a stick.
Of course.
Okay? Know how to get around a racetrack, okay? Because, listen, at the end of the day, these manufacturers are trusting us with whatever their newest thing is, okay? Yeah. So the 1M, for example, that's a $48,000, $50,000 micro supercar.
Yeah.
That's what it is, okay? For us, it's a privilege as journalists to drive those cars.
Yes.
It really, really is.
I can't afford it.
Listen, it's not a right. So journalists, it's not a right. It's a privilege. Understand that, okay? Mm-hmm. Which a lot of guys don't understand in my book.
Yeah.
But you have to know how to drive them properly. You have to know how to get them around the track. And you know what? Every manufacturer that does a press day will have instructors there for you. You know what? Don't think you know everything. Be smart enough to know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. Ask one of their instructors to get in the car and show you how to drive that car.
We've got viewers out there that may have recently purchased a new sports car or whatever it may be. People that haven't been on the track. 5 steps. What do you need to do?
First, don't get in over your head. Don't go out if you're coming off a Hyundai and you just made a lot of money and don't buy an F430. It's a dumb move. Okay, bad idea. Does it look great in your driveway? Sure it does, but it's a car that will kill you if you're not. It's the same thing as a Dodge Viper. Okay.
And the funny thing is, not to cut you off, we just did a test today for Monday's episode to see what car will actually get chicks to pay attention to you.
Okay.
Rolls-Royce or Fiat.
Okay.
Nothing will do justice for getting you attention.
Right.
People will look at you. That's it.
That's it. Exactly.
All right. Sorry. Continue.
No. But that, I would say whatever car you have, if you're at all interested in owning a performance car, before you even buy that car, you should look up a driving school, whether it's SCCA or NASA, and take whatever it is you drive daily, okay? If you have a Hyundai Elantra, take it to the track. If you have a Hyundai Accord or Honda Accord, take it to the track.
No one's going to make fun of you.
Not at all. In fact, as instructors, we'd rather see that.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that's a car you're familiar with, you drive it every day, okay? You will be amazed at what that car will actually do on a racetrack. Listen, I've got a 40-year-old Charger. Yeah. Okay, I can reel C5 Corvettes in, okay, with not too hot a driver behind the wheel. But it just goes to show you that you could take a much lesser machine and really drive the car, because they are manufactured that good and they are very capable. And you need to learn something like that before you step into, say, a Viper or a Porsche or something like that.
Great last words. Thanks for coming on.
No, you got it.
Ow, we're living in a